It's the case of the moment.
Making a murderer has
a national obsession.
So many people binging on the 10-part series.
When Netflix premiered the documentary Making a Murderer in December 2015, it ignited a passionate debate and a media storm.
Stephen Avery, he was convicted. That man's right where he needs to be.
Are Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey cold-blooded killers or victims of a frame?
Lo and behold, the key magically appears. Highly suspicious.
Could an exonerated folk hero actually be guilty the second time around?
All of the evidence here pointed to one person.
Now, heated reaction from both sides.
I'm not surprised that people are outraged by it. They should be.
This film purposely left out very important evidence. Teresa Halbach was targeted by Stephen Avery.
And a new debate on the evidence.
How do you think the blood got in there? There was a nurse that said, I'm the one that put the hole in there.
If you looked carefully, there is blood in between the stopper and the glass.
It all leads to one burning question.
If not Stephen Avery, who?
An in-depth look at the evidence, the key players, and the uproar surrounding the case. Stephen Avery, innocent or guilty? There are stories of double jeopardy. And then there's a strange and controversial case of Stephen Avery. Wrongfully convicted, spent 18 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit, only to find himself back behind bars 2 years later, charged in a separate case. Is it possible for a man to be wrongly jailed, not once, but twice, for two different crimes? Or has justice finally been served? It's a remarkable whodunit, legal thriller, full of twists and turns that are still being played out, and that put the local sheriffs and the court and the justice system itself on trial. And it all began back in 1985. It was a sunny July afternoon, and a young woman named Penny Bernstein was jogging on a quiet stretch of beach on Lake Michigan.
A man lunged at Penny, and he grabbed her and took her over the dunes.
I kicked him in the groin, and he said, now I'm going to kill you, now you're going to die. And he began beating me primarily about the head.
When a brutally raped and badly battered Penny was rushed to the hospital, she told her story to Manitowoc County Sheriff's deputies. And right away, one of them suggested a suspect. 23-year-old Stephen Avery, a man with a criminal past, including petty burglaries and an animal cruelty case.
Stephen Avery doused the cat with gasoline and threw it intentionally into the fire.
Stephen came from a family with a certain reputation.
The Avery family is best known for running that Avery Auto Salvage. Sprawling property, old junked cars dotted all over the place.
They're a big clan, and a number of them live on the property.
There is that sense of, well, that's the people from the junkyard, and they're sort of off on their own, and some of them get into trouble once in a while.
In fact, just 6 months before the attack on the beach, Stephen Avery was arrested for trying to run one of his neighbors off the road because, he claimed, she was spreading false rumors about him.
Mr. Avery's intent was actually to assault the woman. After all, he rammed his pickup truck into her car, and he held her at rifle point.
Just so happened the woman was married to a sheriff's deputy, so no surprise. Stephen was very much on the department's radar.
When news of this sexual assault on a beach came up, the sheriff's department almost immediately fixed on Stephen Avery as a subject.
The police artist basically manipulated Penny Bernstein into creating a sketch that looked just like Mr. Avery's mugshot from 6 months ago.
And thus, hours after the assault, Penny picked Stephen from a photo array. And he was arrested.
I think my confidence that I had selected the right person was boosted when I was told that the person they arrested was the suspect that they had in mind.
But Stephen denied it and had an alibi. At his trial, 16 witnesses took the stand to swear that Stephen was with them on the afternoon of the attack. Of course, almost all of them were members of his family, so...
I think a lot of members of the community did have preconceived notions about the Avery family, which made it difficult for him to get a fair trial, frankly.
The jury found Stephen Avery guilty of rape and attempted murder. He was sentenced to 32 years. He continued to insist he was innocent, but his appeal went nowhere. And then, in 2002, the Wisconsin Innocence Project sent a hair from the original rape kit to the state crime lab for testing.
It was the last hair, the last shred of evidence that could have been tested.
And it was not his hair, meaning he could not have been the rapist. He was telling the truth all along. And so, in September 2003, Stephen Avery was finally set free.
Mr. Avery's release was a very large media event.
How you doing? Oh, hello. How are you?
And Mr. Avery then became sort of a folk hero.
It was a double win for justice. The DNA freed an innocent man and identified the actual assailant, a man named Gregory Allen, already in prison for another rape.
Law enforcement had every reason to look at Mr. Allen in 1985. That summer, Mr. Allen was breaking into women's homes. He had assaulted a 16-year-old woman in Manitowoc at the time. It's pretty clear to anybody who really looks at this in any serious way that the sheriff and the district attorney basically railroaded Mr. Avery, all along letting the real assailant go free.
But even after all those 18 lost years, Stephen met and forgave the woman whose identification put him in prison.
It ain't all her fault, you know. Honest mistake, you know.
I've described it as one of the most grace-filled moments of my life, that someone who has served 18 years for a crime they didn't commit can say to the person who identified them, I don't blame you, it wasn't your fault.
Stephen had someone else in mind when it came to blame, and filed a $36 million lawsuit in federal court against Manitowoc County, the former sheriff, and the former district attorney. County officials denied any wrongdoing, but then came the depositions, which revealed that they may have gotten a crucial lead in 1995, 10 years after Avery was arrested.
A call comes into the jail from a person who apparently is a detective saying, I've got information on that sexual assault case. I think you guys got the wrong guy.
If anyone had followed up on that call, the lawyers argued, Stephen Avery could have been freed 8 years earlier.
Everything what they did wrong should come back at them.
What a turnaround. By the fall of 2005, the Wisconsin legislature was voting on the Avery bill to change police investigation techniques, and the federal lawsuit was moving forward quickly.
His lawyers were very close to finishing up depositions and were ready to present the case in probably a very large settlement.
And then, just after Halloween 2005, everything changed. It was November 3rd, and a young woman was reported missing, hadn't been heard from for 4 days. Teresa Hallback was 25, pretty, a budding photographer with portraits, pictures of cars for sale. She'd been active in her church. She coached their girls' volleyball team. But now she was gone. Vanished.
We need everybody's help. Please keep looking.
The last time and place Teresa was seen alive was October 31st, heading to shoot photos of a car.
Hello, this is Teresa with Auto Trader Magazine. I'm the photographer, and I'm just giving a call to let you know that I could come out there today.
That appointment was at Stephen Avery's family business, the Avery Salvage Yard. And so a search began.
I know if I was missing, I'd want somebody looking for me, and she's a good person.
Friends and Hallback family members spread out to hunt for any sign of Teresa or her car. And on November 5th, they found something.
I'm on the search for Teresa Hallback, and we found a RAV4. It's weird. It's covered up.
Where are you?
I'm at Avery Salvage.
And right away, Stephen Avery became a prime suspect. The sheriffs closed off the 40-acre Avery family compound and conducted a series of exhaustive searches from Avery's red trailer and his garage to the site where Teresa's SUV was found. It was the beginning of what some say was the framing of Stephen Avery. For 8 days they searched. 8 days in which law enforcement alone had access to Avery's home and property.
There were 3,800 vehicles. Each one of them had to be searched for anything that might be relevant to this case.
I'll never forget the scene that day. Almost 100 law enforcement officers from different agencies searching the premises, media helicopters flying overhead.